Recording is all set.
Welcome to the Chapter Leader Call on October 10th, 2013. This is Mary Charles Blakebrough, the Director of CDC Communications, and I want to welcome you to our session that's going to be looking at how you can reach out to community organizations. Barbara Bear, who is head of social media and marketing for the Delaware Valley APT chapter, is going to talk about her strategy for expanding the DVAP's exposure to other professional organizations as a way to attract members to the chapter. And then I don't know if Johanna Levitt is on the call yet, but Gary Kebschel is here. They are co-presidents, and I had the great pleasure of meeting both of them at the Catherine Hirsch program on Saturday in Philadelphia. It was wonderful, and a bunch of hours up from Durham, North Carolina on the train. Next, we will also have a session where we'll do some Q&A from the chapter leaders about what you guys have been doing in terms of connecting with community organizations. Then there's a very brief pause at a Excel spreadsheet I made about chapters with links to APTI. I don't know if the link here will work or not, but I've printed out the link on that sheet. And then the next call about the absent sensation function. Before that, though, we will have Pam Reckel talking about an update on the webinar, APTI webinar committee. So, with no further ado, how about Barbara? How would you like to talk about what you guys have been doing there, and perhaps Gary chime in, and Johanna if she gets on the call?
Okay, great. It'll be a pleasure to do so. And sorry I had to miss the session on Saturday. I understand it was fantastic. And please do call me Barb. I just prefer Barb. Barbara makes me feel like I'm going to the principal's office.
Oh,
Okay, so I'm new to the organization and just recently was talking with Gary and Joanna about, what can we do to get more people into the group? So I did a number of things. First off, it's really a combination of print, social media, and online visibility attempts, plus some personal networking on my part. I hand out my card everywhere I go and tell them about DVAPT. Um, and it's really interesting how many people I run into are unaware of our organization. One of the things that I look for, of course, is those organizations that would be interested. And I noticed that was among the questions for today's session. So let me say that mostly I'm focusing on education, training, counseling, career management kinds of organizations. Um, Doing some cross pollination, if you will, because I sit on the boards of several organizations and I'm very involved with those career counseling and a few other ones as well. So, with that said, what I've started doing is getting some things into print, meaning the Philadelphia Inquirer offers several opportunities, one of which is posting our meetings in their business calendar. And I also post it in the networking section, which comes out in the Sunday paper. Also, as a board member of another organization, I've been asked in the past to post our organization's information in the Philadelphia Business Journal's list of networking organizations. And I asked Gary and Johanna if they thought that would be a good idea, and I have also done that as well. I'm not positive when that list is coming out, but that will be a print item. Also, I post the meeting information on some what I'll call all around websites. For example, there's an organization, I should say, an online website called All Around Philly, which will post the information to a multitude of newspapers, the online versions. Also, I post directly to some of the community newspapers by sending an email and asking them to post it. But a lot of it's done online at this point. And finally, I also started a LinkedIn group, the DVAPT LinkedIn group. Took the liberty of copying, no small feat, I might add, the APT logo and putting DVAPT next to that. So we now have a LinkedIn group, and I'm trying to get some conversations going there and build our visibility. And I've been inviting people to join the discussions that go on there. And then I post the meeting information in various LinkedIn groups, once again, targeting career management, coaching, education, psychology, training, similar organizations. And then finally, we do have an alliance with the Association of Career Professionals Greater Philadelphia Networking Group. And so we do cross pollination there where they post our information and we post information on their website, and looking to expand that a little further with some other groups, but haven't identified those as of yet. Although I am starting to work a little bit with ASTD, American Society for Training and Development. Went to one of their meetings and talked to some of the officers, and they seemed receptive, which I will count as a major coup because they're usually not that receptive. So we will see what happens with that. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. Looking for groups who might be interested in MBTI.
How about in the university setting?
Not a lot done there just yet. Certainly will look into that though.
Because I keep running into people down here in Durham. We have Duke University, we have NC State, we have the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and that's a lot of folks who have been qualified or certified. And I've been have on my agenda to get a list of people who might have be members of APTI to contact them personally. So
Well,
that's one thing.
you mentioned something that prompted me, that I am a member of the Mid Atlantic Career Counseling Association, MACA for short, and they're having a conference in early December, which of course I post on their LinkedIn group site already, but I haven't reached out to them very specifically. But that's a really good point. So when I'm at the conference, I'll make a point to see if I can connect with some of the leaders of that group as well, because
Oh,
that is a lot of career counseling in the college and university setting, folks.
Mary Charles, this is Gary, and
yeah.
one of the unintended consequences of Barb's work is that it has exposed the members of the DVAPT to other organizations that we didn't necessarily think about as using the Myers-Briggs, or that would be an opportunity for us to kind of go into their environments as well. And a number of folks in DVAPT are executive coaches, and so what we've seen is an opportunity to let's say, expand into those other organizations. So it's been a real win-win for the other organizations as well as for DVAPT.
Well, one of the things that I was so excited about was to see that y'all had made a connection. I can't remember the name of the organization right now, but for those of you who have read some of Chip and Dan Heath's books, Made to Stick, Switch, and the latest one, Decisive, they have Dan uh, Heath coming October 30th, is it?
Yes.
Yes,
And
yes, I will
I
be
went,
there.
well, you might, because I went out to look at their Heath Brothers website. We are talking, they have gone big time. And to, is it $185, something like that, for a half day workshop? Uh, that's unbelievably reasonable for this particular person. So
Yeah.
anybody who can get themselves to Philadelphia the weekend of October 30th, um, I I I think it would be a great opportunity for you. And that's such a prime example of cross fertilization.
Well, I will add to that. This is Barb again. That a lot of companies are buying tables at that. So I was able to secure a seat at a table for even less than that. So if people have connections with particular companies who are buying tables at that event, they could even pay less than 185, which I agree is extremely reasonable.
So is this something that DVAPT is sponsoring actually, or you guys are just advertising it and going?
We're considered alliance members. Is that the correct word, Gary?
That is the correct word. We are promoting it, and they are promoting DVAPT in their program, as well as extending the Alliance member rate to our organization.
That is
which is
just
which,
great.
which is I think the 180, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's the 180. I think the regular cost is probably around 200. It's
Wow,
going to be a
that's terrific.
it's going to be a major event. One of the board members of PSPS, who are the sponsors of this, um, that's a new name, so don't ask me what that stands for. It used to be called PHRPG many years ago, but they've changed their name and it's People something or other. But they are the sponsors of it, and I know a couple of the board members, and they were telling me they're expecting 500 people.
Barb, that's People, Strategy, the Philadelphia Society, I think, or one of the S's stands for strategy.
Yes, yeah, I believe you're right about that. I haven't wrapped my mouth around that yet. I still think PHRPG, you know.
Well, I'm looking at your advertisement, Philadelphia Society of People and Strategy,
There you go.
PSPS.
Thank you.
And I'm assuming you guys would be okay if any of us could come, with us being for the day members of the chapter.
Well, we're certainly okay with you coming. However, the special rate eclipsed a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So that wonderful rate isn't available anymore.
But I think that does raise a question about whether chapters want to offer a chapter member rate to someone who is part of a different chapter. So like in Portland, if someone's a member of the Seattle chapter, they get to come to our stuff at a member rate. And I think chapters could make that decision either program by program or just on a general basis if they wanted to do that for anything or everything.
Well, I think that would be an excellent idea. I can't speak for Gary and Johanna on that, but the issue with this is actually being run by another organization. So it's not our particular program. We're an Alliance member, but it's not us. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Gary, please.
You are correct on that, Barb. And for our last program that we did with Catherine Hirsch, we extended a member rate to those chapters that were in the geographic area. We reached out to the folks in New York, down to Virginia, and made them honorary local members so that they could enjoy that rate for Catherine's program.
Nice.
So I think we'll do that on a program by program basis. We'll just see how it goes.
Well, it also went out somehow through the e-chapter. Is anybody else hearing an echo except me?
I'm hearing it as well.
Okay, it's gone away. Thank you, whoever muted. It was sent out by the e-chapter. We had like maybe 2 days or a day, but it was wonderful, and it had an ending date, an ending time on it. So that made sense.
Yeah, Walter from the e-chapter group reached out to me and said, asked me if I would promote Susan Nash's program on the 16th. And the quid pro quo was that he would promote our program through the e-chapter if we did that. So that's what we did.
And you got 3 people.
3 excellent people.
Yes. Okay. Any other thoughts or comments about the community organizations from Barb, you, or Gary? And if not, we will switch over and see what other chapter leaders have been doing.
Well, I did forget to mention that, of course, we do a constant contact mailing to members as well. I try to be very strategic in the timing of these things, and I don't actually do the constant contact. Gary or Joanna do that. But that's another element, of course, that's important to stay in touch and keep the membership connected. Mostly I've been focusing on going outside the organization to bring more people in.
Well, it seems to be working. All right, so let me turn the slide.
So I actually have another question for them if we can answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
Barbara, in your work with Facebook, on Facebook or LinkedIn, your local chapter sites, do you actually have conversations going back and forth? Do you have kind of a community that says, oh, I saw this great thing, or what about that? I've been curious about that, how to really get that going.
Well, it's interesting you should ask that question. Since I started the group, I've been inviting people left and right and posing some questions, and there's a little bit of feedback. But what I do, to be frank about it, is when we have a meeting, I kind of hop up and down, remind everybody that it's there for discussion. You know, so far it's pretty new. I think we're only a couple of weeks old, maybe a month. So I'm working on it. And again, we're doing the cross pollination where I'm posting these other information pieces about other organizations, events, and so forth and so on there. So I think it's going to take a while. It's going to build, but it's going to build slowly.
Yeah, nice, nice, thanks.
Johanna, I saw that you're there somewhere. Do you have any comments you want to add? Okay. Okay, there are a whole lot of people who've called in, and I don't know which one it is. So let's move on to the next slide, which is these are the questions we're looking at. What has worked in reaching out to local professional, educational, and interest organizations to connect with potential new members? What have y'all had as success stories there? Or what have you gotten as results? Let's put it like that. And if you can mute yourself if you're not talking, that would be awesome because I'm hearing static somewhere.
Hello,
Hello, who's this?
this is Johanna Levitt calling in. I had trouble
Hey.
connecting.
Great. Glad to hear you.
I kept getting telling the message saying it was an invalid entry when I was trying to dial in.
Well, we'll adjust that for the next call. I'm so sorry you had the problems. But anything you want to add to what you guys have been doing at DVAPT?
I wasn't able to hear if Gary's on the line. I don't know who else, or Barbara's on the line. I don't know what they've already mentioned.
Okay. Well, see if anything pops up in this section where we're talking about other chapter leaders. And if people could mute themselves, we've got a whole lot of phones. I don't know if you've got a mute on your phone, but there's some sort of staticky noise.
Did it just happen?
No, it's not you.
Okay.
I think that might have been Johanna's because it started when I think she was trying to connect in, possibly.
Okay, can you mute your phone, Johanna?
You can press *6.
*6?
*6, is it?
Try that. Yeah.
Try *6.
Nope, that's not it. All right, I'm muting myself again.
All right, Tony, would you mute the phones? And those of you who are on telephones, would you do chat at the bottom? And Pam, would you help me with watching the Pam or Adam, either one, so that everybody gets a chance to talk that wants to? Has anybody tried SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management?
That's next on my list. I wanted to start with ASTD and see if I could wiggle my way into SHRM, but hopefully again, that group isn't the most receptive, but I'll see what I can do there. This is Barb again. Also, I think now that I'm going to join PSPS, the Philadelphia group that's offering the program we were talking about before earlier, the Leadership Forum with Dan Heath. I'm going to see what I can do when I'm there to do a little cross pollination too.
Oh, I have a question for you. You said you handed out your card. Do you have Delaware Valley APT cards, or is that
No,
your personal card?
I have a personal card, but what I do is my process is to engage in conversation, of course, and start networking. And then, for example, at a meeting I was at recently, one of the ladies introduced herself as having a master's degree in MBTI. And I thought, oh, hot
What?
diggity. Yeah, she has a master's degree in MBTI. I'm not kidding you. Well, that's what she said anyway. So I immediately talked to her and I took her card. And then the next day I go through the cards I've collected and I send them information. And that's my usual thing. And or I hand them my card if they don't happen to have a card with them. And I make a note on the card that way too.
Cool. And how about benefits of marketing partnerships?
Are you thinking of the alliance when you say marketing? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, yeah. The I was wondering if Adam, you guys out in the Bay Area have been hooking up or have been joining with other, making an alliance with other community organizations.
Well, we have reached out to some other organizations, including the local ASTD group and a couple of the others. And, I think it depends a lot just on how well organized that particular chapter is that you reach out to. I mean, I've had the experience, almost everyone has been, encouraging, and particularly what we've usually looked for is a member of our chapter of APTI who is also a member of these other professional organizations to be the go-between. But it just depends on how well organized that chapter is. They may say, oh yes, we would like to, do some kind of cross marketing for each other, or we'd be happy to, offer your members a free first visit to our group or in exchange for the same thing. But then they may just drop the ball a lot if they're just, overwhelmed and not organized enough. And I have experienced that where there's been, months and months and months of email and then they keep dropping the ball. So it just really depends on who's well enough organized to do a collaboration. But I haven't found people are opposed to the idea for any, policy reason. It's just, do they have the energy to carry it out?
Well, here in the Research Triangle Park, which is our local APT chapter, we've had a lot of success with the Jung Society. I think possibly because people on our board have been on their board, and so they see much more. Because we have the same sort of history of theory, they seem a lot more interested than some of the others.
Yes, we've done some things in marketing with the local Jung Institute in San Francisco, and for certain programs that works. Of course, not every program that we do is that kind of depth psychology. Not every program is close enough to Jung's original work to be congenial to them. But when you have the right program, I think that's definitely a good thing. And I have a lot of connections with Jungian organizations around the country and would be glad to help any chapter, tap into their local Jungian group if they don't know how to do it.
That would be really great. Okay, so Adam is in the Bay Area, and he's also a member of the CDC. He's handling our programs and came up with the idea for this program. So on every invitation, his contact information is at the very bottom. You may notice you get a lot of information, but we want to make sure you have
enough. Okay, I'm going to move on now, unless somebody's got a burning comment. Everybody's on mute, so that's a little hard to do that. Okay, the next thing, remember we asked for you guys who had links to let us know. And so what I did was I made a little spreadsheet with all the chapters on it. What you see here are the URLs that I got both from the list in the APTI website and from those who actually sent them to me. And I've listed who actually sent stuff to me in the column that says from. Then I put my version of your chapter name, what city, the state, and I have here on this, do you see that Google short name? That goes to our Dropbox where you can find the actual Excel file so that you can add to it or change it or be able to actually read it. So I just want to let you know that's there. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Mary Charles, this is Pam, and I've got a question. So was your purpose here to let us know what all the websites are to the chapters? And if when you go to their chapter website, whether there's a link that says, here's where you go for more information for APTI? Is that
right? The ones, see where it says link, that column right after the URL? The yeses are the ones where they actually have a link. The blanks are also in the notes have MCB, which says I made it up.
Got it.
And so those are the ones we don't know. Greater Cincinnati no longer has a website. And I don't know about Detroit because it wasn't listed on the APTI website.
Great. So what's interesting to me about this, so for a while when I was the chair of the Portland chapter and part of the CDC, it was a big duh to me as we were getting ready to do the conference this year in Miami that we did not have a link to APTI, and I was embarrassed and shocked by that. And I realized I so often focused so much on the chapter things that I'd forgotten that it's such a great resource, the APTI. So Portland now does have a link. But for those of you who don't yet, if you need, Tony sent us a little icon that we were able to easily put on there as an icon. If you need any help with doing that, we really would like all the chapters, because APTI is in fact our mother organization. We would like you to have a link somewhere. And a piece of this actually shifts to the, Mary Charles, can I shift into my webinar thing?
Yes, just one little second.
So a big question that APTI and the board are really wrestling with, and it's really exciting and interesting actually, is this idea that we want to make sure that APTI really offers clear value to members of APTI, it's a bigger organization, so that we would want people to say, yep, I'm a member of my local chapter, and wow, if I belong to APTI, here's all these other things that I also get. And one of the things we are doing is realizing that we want APTI to be the premier source for type-related information. And part of the definition of type-related information, that is, someone said it was type agnostic, meaning that we didn't have a preference over which type assessments or which formats of type, that we were really including all. So it's not just MBTI, it includes temperament and on and on and on, and 8 functions, et cetera, et cetera. So we want people to be able to go to the APTI website and get lots of cool information. Eventually, the TED-like talks from the conference will actually be posted there, so they'll have 20-minute, videos that people can watch. And we realized that right now we have a lot of different webinars happening, but there's not one place you can go to see the listings of all the type-related webinars. So I've actually been on a committee that for 3 or 4 months now, at least, has been working on what could we do to coordinate worldwide what type-related webinars are happening so that someone who may or may not know about APTI, but they, click type webinar, could go to one place and see all the webinars that are coming up. So I'm asking you for this, and I'll get in touch with you with the template, but there's a template that we would like any chapter who has an upcoming webinar to fill it out, and then we'll use your information and actually post it on this webinar site on the APT website. So I think it's terrific advertising for the chapters, and because we're hoping that people worldwide will be looking at it, it'd be pretty cool. Like when Portland did a webinar, our first and only so far, Dick Thompson was the speaker, and he forwarded it to his folks, but we had people from Australia and New Zealand at our webinar, and I thought that was dang cool. I thought that was terrific. So for all of you who have an upcoming webinar, if you let me know who you are, or I may ask Mary Charles just to send the information out to all of you, so even if you're contemplating this, you could see what information we're collecting. We're wanting to make it interesting and being clear about what value would someone gain by attending your webinar, and of course, when is it and what's the time frame, and being clear on which time zone, how long will it last, and then how does someone register, and hopefully they'd be able to register online or through PayPal, so whatever system you have for that, and then a brief biography of your presenter, and then a kind of a checklist of who would benefit from attending. So if you're able to see, we think that this one would be for educators or management OD consultants or career counselors, then people could see that pretty clearly, and they might even be able to search by that. And then if they could even, if the webinar is such that it might help someone improve team performance or manage change or help with customer service or something, you'd be able to check a box for that. So hopefully you'd be able to fine-tune the information about the audience, so people who go, oh, that's me, oh wow, I really want to go to that webinar, I couldn't miss that. And then we'll be talking about kind of what the type practitioner expertise is. Is it neuroscience? Is it counseling and psychotherapy, theory and research, career counseling, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's pretty exciting that we're collecting this and doing this. We'd like to get the information in the next 2 weeks, so Mary Charles will send it out to all of you. And I'm excited that APTI is going to update the website so we've got more value add on the website, and of course as an organization. And this is free for anyone who wants to go and look at this webinar listing. People don't have to sign up or give their email or anything to be able to look at that. So questions or comments about that? Otherwise, it's just a look for it in your mailbox. And if you do have a webinar coming up, this is a terrific way to get your advertisements for it.
Is the webinar part going to be separate, or will the webinars in addition be sorted in with the other programs as trainings as well?
You know what, Mary Charles, I'm not sure about the answer to that. My hunch is that it's going to be separate, but I actually don't know the answer. Tony, do you know the answer to that? I don't know, Mary Charles. If the training is virtual, it may be included, the training may also be included in that. I don't know.
Or maybe they could have a click to the webinar part right at the very beginning, and people could go there and look at that and then look at the rest of the stuff.
Right.
My other question had to do with okay, let's go on, and I will think of it in a minute.
Great.
Anything else you want to say about it?
I don't think so. Just to, when you get this and you want your webinar advertised, please send us the information. Thanks.
Okay, I'll send it out as soon as I get the form that you want them to fill out. Oh, I know the other thing. The other thing had to do with when you say it's free, does that mean I, anonymous person, get on the website and I can then go to the trainings without having any interference?
When you say any interference, meaning you could just click, click, click and sign up for something?
Click, click, click and see it.
Right, I think you can click, click, click and see it and maybe sign up. This is all about having some new people be aware of the programs, and especially because it is virtual. I mean, if there were any restrictions on who got to come, or if you had to be a member to get a particular rate, there might be some different process there, but it's really about attracting some new and different people to participate.
Okie doke. Pam, do you want to mute yourself? Because I'm going to talk about the Stephanie Rogers thing. Okay, Tony, are you there?
Yes.
Could you mute everybody but me for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is our next call. I'm particularly interested in this one because I suspect my grandson is a sensing perceiving type, and I think it is really a very fascinating topic, and it's one, for instance, at Catherine Hirsch's program, we had an SP and an SJ, and people were blown away about what they contributed to the program. The absent sensation function is what we're calling it, and Stephanie Rogers, who is the incoming president for the Research Triangle chapter here, has also worked with Linda Behrens for a number of years at Temperament Research Institute. She was on the faculty doing qualifying or certifying programs for type resources. And she's just had a real passion. She's actually married to this so cute, I love to hear him talk, New Zealander, where sensing perceivers are really valued as just a wonderful part of their culture. And so she's going to be talking about extrovert sensation, dominant sensation anyway, how it's underrepresented. And she just wonders what's the implication to the type movement if so few people want to come and hang out as we talk about type theory, and wonder how we might attract more sensing perceivers and sensing judging type to our programs. And what would our organizations be like? How would they develop differently if there were artisan and guardian temperaments participating? So that's what our call next time is going to be about. Does anyone have any last minute comments that they want to make? And I think, Tony, you've muted people, but can they click and unmute themselves?
They should be able to, but actually I do have a brief announcement as
Okay.
well. Bob McAlpin at Type Resources reached out to me yesterday. We're working on a partnership with them through APTI, but they wanted to let everyone know that they have 2 upcoming free webinars where John Giannini is going to be speaking, and you can find those on the APTI website under the events page or on their Type Resources website.
I think it's type-resources.com. Is that it?
Something like that, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put the link for our website events in the chat window as well.
Okay. So we're really looking forward to each of you who are representing your chapter really considering getting the webinar information to us so that we can have a very good start. Also, Susan Nash is coming up on the e-chapter. I forget what the date is. Gary, Gary, do you remember what the date is for Susan's program?
That'll be on the 16th of October, exploring cross-cultural communication.
Cool. All right. Well, everyone, you now have about 10 minutes to do whatever you want. We are so grateful that you came and joined us, and we look forward to seeing you next month on November the 14th. That's a Thursday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Goodbye.
Thanks, Mary Charles.
Thank you, Mary Charles.
Thank you, Tony.